Hello and welcome to SkySwitch University. In this unit we want to cover branding the PBX Manager portal. Now in your Dash Manager, again, the way you access the knowledge base is either through this help button here or by clicking help on your drop down menu off your profile name. So let's go into the knowledge base, and the article that I'm going to reference, if we just search for branding, I'm going to reference the branding the PBX Manager portal. This video is actually what I'm redoing right now. It's going to be the version 3 of this video. Here's the article, and there's a form here that we're going to have you fill out, but it gives you some information here, and I will cover all of it in the form. So let's click on the form, branding the PBX Manager portal form. Now the key here is that you're going to need a domain, and then we'll talk more about these questions here on the form. But what is the PBX Manager portal? Now here at SkySwitch, of course, I'm a user on the system, and the way I access the PBX or my portal of the PBX is through pbx.skyswitch.com. Now you're going to notice this URL is secure. It's HTTPS, which means it's secure with SSL. And I'm going to talk to you in the form here about SSL and that you need to obtain an SSL certificate. I'm going to access it with my credentials, 4605 at SkySwitch, which is my extension at the domain that I'm in, and of course the password. So when I click login, it's going to take me into the PBX Manager portal. So your customers are going to access the PBX Manager portal through a URL that you're going to submit. And here's what the PBX Manager portal looks like. Now we're going to cover the PBX Manager portal in a subsequent video. It depends on what scope you give the user, and we're going to get into that with you in a subsequent training video. So here's the portal. I do want you to notice that your logo will be inside the portal on the portal page here, but also on the login screen as we saw on the previous screen. So there's branding as far as colors, and your logo that will be on the login page as well as the inside pages of the PBX Manager portal. Okay, and we'll get into that in the form. Okay, so back to the form. We're going to need to know what domain name you want to use. And again, we use pbx.skyswitch.com. I see many resellers using a prefix there like portal or PBX or VoIP, different prefixes for that subdomain. So you're going to need to create a subdomain, and you're going to need to get that subdomain set up with your registrar, whether it's GoDaddy or some other registrar. And then we list here the hex code chart for the colors that you want to use, and I'll talk more about the branding colors here in a moment. But then the key here, and one of the large parts of getting this together, is the SSL certificate. There's a separate doc that covers the SSL certificate. So let's click on SSL certificate, and it brings you to the SSL certificates doc. Now the key here you need to understand is that the SSL certificate that you choose must be a wildcard certificate. Now if we go to GoDaddy, I want to point something out here. You'll see these different options for SSL certificates, and you'll see this protect multiple websites, and you may think that this one will work. Well, the problem here is that it only covers up to 5 websites, and you need really more than 5. There's 10 or 11 at the moment, and there's possibly more subdomains that you're going to need in the future on our platform. So it needs to secure one website and all its subdomains. So that's why you need this wildcard SSL certificate here. So this would be the GoDaddy option to go with, the protect all subdomains wildcard SSL certificate. Now you can of course get a SSL certificate with another registrar. Just make sure that it's a wildcard certificate that's covering all subdomains of a domain. Now back to the SSL certificates doc. I want to point out it is possible that you already own an SSL certificate. If you do, you'll need to provide as with the private key that was used to create the CSR to generate your current SSL certificate. If this is the case, please submit this private key along with other files requested in Step 4. So that's important if you already own an SSL certificate that is a wildcard certificate. So as you're going through this document, there's one thing I want to point out. Now, we use the PEM format, which is the most common format that certificate authorities issue SSL certificates in. Okay, and there's more information here about the PEM format. But also, we use the Apache web server with mod SSL, which is compatible with PEM. So if you're ever asked during this process which web server there's a certificate will be used on, it'll be used on Apache or Apache plus mod SSL. Now, we do list here some other vendors. We do recommend the GoDaddy, of course, SSL certificate, but there are other vendors, DigiCert, Symantec, and Komodo, that you can go to, and just again make sure you get a wildcard SSL certificate. And again, I'm going to say that multiple times. We even have another note here, because your UI, your user interface, will run on multiple physical servers. You must provide a multi-server wildcard SSL certificate. Now, there are 5 steps we're going to take you through in getting your SSL certificate purchased and set up. Now, we're going to reference GoDaddy, but again, this will be similar with the other registrars. Now, your first step is to obtain a CSR. A CSR is a certificate signing request. So during the SSL certificate order process, GoDaddy and your other registrars will require you to provide a CSR, a certificate signing request. It is possible for you to provide your own, but it's much easier to just let SkySwitch provide this for you. And the way you do that is you click on this CSR request form. So let's do that now in this first step. Here is the certificate sign-in request tool. Now, this tool is going to generate a CSR. The CSR, again, is required by your SSL provider in order to set up the SSL connection. Now, you're going to fill out your reseller ID, your 5-digit reseller ID. You're going to set your country, USA tool, and it is going to provide a CSR for you to then submit to your SSL provider. This state, I'm just going to put Texas, and I'll put Allen, that's where I live here. Put your, and the state and city is just where your headquarters, so your main location of your business. And then your business name. Reseller USA. Now, department. You're going to want to put either portal, external, or website. We suggest just putting portal here. That's the type of department your customers are going to be accessing. It's just required when generating a CSR. The fully qualified domain name is the actual subdomain that you're using. So if you're using portal.reseller, that's your domain name, .com, just put that in your fully qualified domain name field, and then add in your email address. I'm going to put just W. Brister here, and then submit. Okay, so this will then generate a CSR. You're going to receive a CSR, certificate sign-in request, via email. And that certificate sign-in request is going to look like this in the PEM format. It's going to start with begin certificate request. It's going to end with end certificate request. And so all these characters together is your CSR. Now, once you receive your CSR via email, then you can start the process of purchasing your SSL certificate, whether it's with GoDaddy again or one of the other registrars. And in that process, GoDaddy or one of the registrars is going to require that you enter the CSR information into their portal. Again, it's going to be a field. You're going to enter it into the field in the process of requesting an SSL certificate. The CSR is part of that process. Now, if you're asked in that process what web server that you need to set it for, Apache is your answer, or Apache plus mod SSL. And we again list that here at the top, Apache or Apache mod SSL. Okay, so that's part of that third process of purchasing your SSL and entering your CSR information. Now, after submitting the CSR into your registrar, into GoDaddy or one of the other registrars, and specifying the type of web server, once you enter this in, after submitting the CSR, you're going to receive from GoDaddy CRT files or certificate files. A lot of times these are zipped and they're going to be sent to you, or you can download them from their portal. Now, once you receive the CRT files, you're going to then submit the CRT files in the branding the WebCentrix PBX Manager Portal form. And so we're going to go back to the form, and you will upload your SSL certificate files. Those again will probably be in a zip file, and you're going to submit those to SkySwitch. We need to put those into our servers in order to activate your SSL security. So after receiving your CRT files in step 4 and submitting them in step 5, and really step 5 is completing the form. So let me walk through it one more time. Step 1 is gathering or getting your CSR, your certificate sign-in request, and you do that with this form, and you receive your CSR via email. Once you receive it, then you're going to begin the process of purchasing your SSL in step 2. In step 3, it's going to require that you enter that CSR information into a form with your registrar, and then from that you're going to receive CRT files. They'll be in a zip form. You'll download them, or they'll be emailed to you, and then you're going to then come back to the form and complete filling out the form. So let's go back to the form. You're on the form, and again, you've completed your SSL certificate process there, and you have your CRT files. You need your CRT files to complete this form, okay? So you put in your reseller name, your reseller ID, and then here we point out that you're going to need to create DNS CNAME record that points your domain, your subdomain, like pbx.skyswitch.com, to this URL, group ID hyphen hpbx.manager.com. Now that group ID is your reseller ID, same thing that you're going to put in this field here. So if it's 21011, that's what you will have here, hyphen hpbx.manager.com. You're going to create a CNAME record with your registrar. If you have your subdomain with GoDaddy, your domain and your subdomain with GoDaddy, you're going to go there and you're going to create a CNAME record. You're going to point it to group ID hyphen hpbx.manager.com. Now here we're just asking you to put into the form the subdomain that you have chosen, like pbx.skyswitch.com or portal.yourdomain.com. So we're just asking you to put your choice there for your subdomain here. Now you've already created the CNAME record. We're just wanting to see what subdomain you've chosen to use. Now also state here about generating your CSR, and we give you access to that CSR request form again, and here's more information on obtaining SSL certificates. So we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but we're making sure that if you missed it above, you'd have the information here as well. Again, we're pointing out that it must be a wildcard certificate that handles multiple subdomains of a domain. Now in the previous SSL doc, we talked about how to obtain your cert files. After submitting your CSR and putting that information in your registrar like GoDaddy, what you're going to get back are these cert files. And again, they're probably going to be in a zip file. Well, here's where you will upload those files to us. Now lastly, what we're going to cover is the branding. Again, we provide you a link here to hex codes that provide you different colors. You will need to know the hex code color of your logo, or what your primary colors are in your logo, or how you want to handle that. Okay, so this hex code right here, or color, would be the upper portion of the button. This text appears directly below the login panel. This is the hex code that would be used for the lower portion of the button. Now we're giving you examples here. So this would be the upper portion of the button, this would be the lower portion of the button, and same thing here. This of course would be your logo, and then this is the text that appears right below the login panel. So for example, here we have powered by SkySwitch. You could put what you want there right below the login panel, and so you're submitting your logo, your colors, and that's for the login page as well as the interior of the portal. If you have any comments, you could put those here. And so that completes our Branding the PBX Manager portal. Just follow the instructions carefully on the doc and on the SSL certificates doc. And if you have any questions, of course, open a ticket, and you can open that with onboarding@skyswitch.com, and we can help you with those questions. But just follow the doc carefully, and you should be able to make it through to getting the branding of your portal done. And do note here at the bottom of the form that it states it will take our support team 48 to 72 hours to complete the branding. So give the support team some time to complete the branding once you submit your form here. If you have any questions, you can submit those to onboarding@skyswitch.com. Thank you so much for your time.